You are listening to the Night and Day podcast, featuring the interview archives of Western New York music writer Thom Jennings. Thom has interviewed some of the biggest names in music and entertainment, and now you can enjoy these never-before-heard interviews. Here's your host, Thom Jennings.
Well, hello and welcome once again to Night and Day. As you can probably tell by going through the archives, I've been overly productive lately, and tonight is no exception. I'm just kind of doing this episode on a whim. I've got an old interview with Denny Laine, one that I guess my dogs like, which is why they're barking in the background. Anyhow, Denny, in case you forgot, he was a member of Paul McCartney and Wings, those great lineups. One of my favorite live albums of all time is Wings Over America. Jimmy McCulloch, Joe English, who was had some connections to the Rochester area where I grew up, and of course Linda McCartney, and I can't remember who the heck else I'm forgetting. But anyhow, it was a great band. That Wings Over America live album, again, just one of my favorites. But I'm pretty sure Danny and I chat about that. Haven't really listened to this since I've done the interview, so we're just going to kind of let it run and see where it goes. But I figure if you're a Beatles fan, you love to kind of take in any kind of Beatles or Beatles-related stuff, or if you're a Denny Laine fan, this would be kind of interesting. It's very conversational, very fun, but I will get it going. It's about 24 minutes and 15 seconds, so if you want to hang in there and listen to the whole thing, that's about how long it'll be, and then I'll come back and give you some closing words, and hopefully by then the dogs will be quiet. Bye.
Hi, Thom. Denny.
Hey, Denny. Fantastic to have the opportunity to speak with you today. I really appreciate you calling me at this early hour.
That's okay. I'm sort of together.
Well, sort of together is better than not together at all.
Sure.
How long do you figure? 15, 20 minutes? Is that good? Or
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I've got a couple of other ones to do later, but we're all right for a bit.
Okay.
For sure. Okay.
Excellent. I guess we'll start out with the present. Is as far as you've been in the business since 1964, at least as a recording artist, and you're still touring. And I mean, what is it that motivates you to get out there and continue to perform when you're at a stage of your career where you can, just kind of sit back and collect royalties, I suppose?
Well, I've never sat back and collected royalties because that's not what it's all about. It's all about the work. It's doing the thing, I mean, I've always done this. And, but a lot of my friends say the same thing. And, you don't do it to retire. You do it to just play and to keep inventing new stuff. I mean, you're always going to come up, but you never stop learning. And there's always somebody who's going to inspire you to want to go out and, blow them off the stage. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. You want to keep up to date with what's going on, all that stuff. And so it's not a conscious decision. It's just that when you don't do it, which I haven't been doing for a while, you want to do it, and that brings it all back. And then you get the excitement of doing it again and progressing. Really,
I mean, when you look back at your early career, and especially with the Moody Blues and everything, and I mean now you're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of the Moody Blues. A lot of highlights. I mean, is there a few eras or a few songs or anything like that really stand out from your past, or is it are you more kind of living in the present?
Well, I mean, you can't not have something to do with the past, obviously, because the past determines the present. And obviously, I'm very grateful that I've been, in the right place at the right time. I mean, that's just something that happens to me. I don't go out looking for things too much. I mean, I kind of will things, or I, dream big, things like that. So I've had that kind of success that's come from just being around the right people, and obviously very influenced by the music of the time. So in those days, of course, we had that huge hit with Go Now, and that's what actually, I think got me into the Hall of Fame for sure. So thank God, the Moody's went on to do other things. And it was, by the way, it was a great reunion. I really enjoyed seeing everybody. It was just a wonderful thing to do. And although we weren't expecting to go in there because, we're English, we don't think of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame so much as being, like they do over here, such an event. But when you go, then you realise it's an honour really to be, part of a big thing like that. So anyway, so Go Now was the song that got us up the top of the charts. First tour I ever did in the theatres with Chuck Berry. And things like that. And I met Ginger Baker and Jack Bruce in those days because they were on the same tour. So these are friends that carried on, and so a lot of things happened in those early days. I mean, we knew people like Gary Clapton, the Yardbirds, we knew Rod Stewart, Jeff Beck, all these bands that were in London at the time, and bands from out of town, the Animals were friends, Tom Jones. So we had a lot of friends that we sort of worked with and parted with. So it's being a part of that whole legacy was really what it was all about. So that carries you on, you see. I mean, they're all still doing it. So it's like, that's what you do. You just keep going, So that's really it. That's the past for me. But all the ups and downs in the business too, don't forget, I mean, a lot of things went wrong. I mean, a lot of people didn't get paid. A lot of things happened at changing managements. You just having to start again, new ventures. It's a lot of work, but you don't think of it as work so much, but you got to do it. You just get on with it, That's the past for me.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. I mean, I guess one of the things that stood out in that, we were just discussing is the business end. A lot of people don't think about that, and really as a musician, like you said, you do it because you do it, you play because you love to play, and that's right. What motivated you to do it, but the business side of it can be kind of ugly, but then it can be good because the business side is kind of what got you into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's
right. You can't knock that. But the fact is, it's so many people have gone down because of it, and that's what the sad part of it is. I mean, it's affected people's lives. I mean, literally, to the point where they aren't around anymore. And there's a lot of that outside of the business, which is, as you say, very ugly. But, then you know what I mean? You've got to deal with, that's the animal that you're dealing with. You all come through it together. I mean, like I say, my favourite saying is the music business was like the Wild West. There were no rules. And you never knew what was going on behind closed doors with money and people, just not doing the job as well as they should be doing. A lot of people want to get into any kind of business, and because they're attracted to it, especially the music business. So, I mean, a lot of them, they just kind of, bluff their way through. And that's, it takes you away from trying to be, you want to be as relaxed and happy at doing what you're doing. But there's a lot of stress involved if you don't, it's hard to be professional with a lot of situations. You try to be professional with the band. I mean, that's the first thing. You want to be a good band. Every band tries to be as great as they can be. But then you've got the unity of a band, which is, a great thing. You've got a lot of minds all working in the same direction. But when it comes to management and people that come into it outside of the band, that's when the difficulties start. And as I say, I mean, it gets you up there, but at the same time, it's a bittersweet sort of situation a lot of the time.
Well, I suppose in some ways you probably had a very unique perspective on the business end that broke up the Beatles, because you were playing with McCartney not long afterwards, and I would imagine that the way he approached Wings was probably dictated because of the business end of things with the Beatles.
Very good point. I mean, totally right. I knew Paul way before. This is the thing, you see, the Moody Blues were friends with the Beatles from day one. I mean, right from like before they even came to London, and before I left my band, which I had a pretty good band up in Birmingham. Bev Bevan was on drums. You know, he went in to do ELO, and I had a good band, but they didn't want to turn professional. So when I did, it was because two of the Moody's came to me and said they wanted me to go to Germany and do some work out there, where all the bands are working. And I said, well, let's get the band together first, see what happens. And we ended up just being a basic blues band, hence the Moody Blues. And then, so we then, you know, I saw my band had played with the Beatles, is what I'm saying. But I wanted to be pro, so we got discovered, actually, and we went to London, and it all started happening from there. But as soon as we got to London, the first people we bumped into, funnily enough, because our management were very connected on, you know, in the entertainment world, we went to a very famous club called the Ad Lib Club, and the Beatles were all there. So we got friendly with them, you know, like you do. You're all from out of town, you know, you all got something in common. And we got friendly with them, and so from then on, really, I mean, I knew Paul. We'd go out and see people. We'd go and see people like Hendrix, a lot of the American people, Dylan, the Byrds, Loving Spoonful. We'd go and see stuff and all hang out together. We had a lot of parties, stuff like that. So, you know, so I knew him. That's really what it was. That's what got me into the band, I think. Got me into working with him. See what I mean? I don't want to ramble on, but
no worries at all.
I mean, it's like,
yeah. I mean, it's weird to think of, you know, Paul McCartney and you hanging out at a Jimi Hendrix show. You'd almost, I mean, today I don't know that Paul and could get away with just sort of hanging out at a concert venue and checking out a show. I guess it must have been a different time in that respect.
Well, yeah, to a certain degree. I mean, you're talking about the clubs in London, and everything was buzzing, and everybody was, you know, looking out for each other. It was just a great vibe to be around that scene. I mean, the last time I saw Paul was, well, I saw him last year now, a couple of times. But the time before that was in England, and we went to see UB40, but obviously then we were at Wembley Arena, and we were sitting right at the back with the sound guys, you know. And of course, when we walked in there to take our seats, everybody saw me and Paul. It made the papers next day. This is the difference between the old days and now. Is nobody really bothered in the early days. You know what I mean? Everywhere you go now, somebody's got a camera or somebody's asking for your autograph, and everybody's trying to sell things online. You know what I mean? It's a different world in that sense. But like I say, we were, you know, once you become friends with somebody, it's like brothers, I suppose. Brothers and sisters. You just become friends, and you're always that same way that you were when you were younger. You know, you just happen to be in a different level, if you like, you know, popularity-wise or something. So, I mean, we always carried that through, you see. So there was never sort of anything getting in the way of that, really. Well, there's a little bit of, you know, I mean, the press got hold of a couple of things which weren't exactly right, but they go, you know, rumours and all sorts of things. You have to steer away from that stuff as much as you can, because a lot of it is, you know, it's just it's unfounded. I mean, so you have to be careful of that you don't get too involved in your own publicity and, you know, your own fame. See what I mean? So we did. We had that thing of being able to be up in Scotland, away from it all when we started this. So out of the public eye, and gradually grew into it. So it was a kind of natural, slowish process. But, you know, as I say, we had that unity, we had that kind of down-to-earthness that carried us through, really.
I tell you, I do want to touch on the Wings Over America album and tour. I'm 52, yeah. So I was a little too young to catch it, but yeah. The recordings are just some of my favorite live recordings of all time. I mean, that band was, and the movie, I mean, that band was just absolutely on fire.
Oh yeah.
Are you surprised that it didn't last longer? I know Jimmy wound up leaving not too long afterwards, and Joe English is a guy who's from this area, and I always wondered what happened to Joe. I know Jimmy passed away, but Joe kind of went into Christian music, and I always wondered if you were still in touch with him as well. And of course, we know Linda passed away as well.
Of course. No, I'm not in touch with Joe. I've heard a couple of things where he's doing and whatever, but it's the same with Paul. Really, I don't hardly talk to him. It's like something that you just don't do. I'll go to gigs and I'll go backstage, but then I'll go and say hello and hang out because it's like he's got a gig to do. It's the same with Joe English. Once you've done the gig with them, it's not like you're talking to everybody every day. I talk to Steve Holly once in a while. I've worked with him a few times from the last Wings lineup, and Denny Sywell from the first Wings lineup. But it's like every lineup of that band, if you want to call it Wings, was a good lineup. It was. But this just happened to be the one, the 76 happened to be the one that we did go and do all the big stadiums, you see. Whereas prior to that, we were only touching on that a little bit with the band before. And then after that, we were going to go to Japan, and that would have been a big stadium thing too, but that didn't work out because of Paul getting busted. So the 76 thing was just a case of like, we rehearsed the hell out of it, and then we just did date after date, and it was just so kind of flowed along very easily, and the band got tighter and tighter, and so that was really it became a good band because it's practice, and there's nothing like practice in front of an audience, so it was done on the best level. And of course all the energy was there, and it was a good band. I mean, I didn't listen to a lot of that stuff until the last couple of years really, when they started showing it, and I was surprised how good it sounded. And there was hardly any overdubs too. I mean, I had to go in and put some rhythm guitar over stuff, but it might be a couple of things where it wasn't as tight as it should have been, so you just throw a bit of rhythm guitar in and it cleans everything up. But other than that, there wasn't hardly any overdubs on that album. Maybe tidying up a couple of notes here and there, but a couple of harmonies maybe. But, the actual band had this feel about it that most 99.9% of what we were doing just worked, But being perfectionist, you want to try and take a couple of things and just tidy them up. Yeah. It's a live recording's difficult. It's a great thing you get, but it's very difficult to mix in some ways, if you know what I mean.
Oh, well, I'm not a recording engineer by any stretch of the imagination. I've always loved great live albums, and I've just felt that I don't know. There's a tightness in that band, but it's not to the point where it sounds sterile. And I think that's where you see a lot of bands now that are so well rehearsed that they don't really give the music any room to breathe. And I was always surprised at how much room there was for each artist to kind of breathe and step forward, especially when you got a guy like Paul McCartney on stage who would, just by his very nature, draw some of the attention away, but the other musicians really shone amazing in that performance.
Sure. Well, again, it's like Paul will always want to play with good musicians because it improves yourself by doing that. I mean, you have to be around people who are as good as, if not better than you, So you're going to want to bring out the best in these people by arranging songs, arranging a show. It's like producing a show that's going to work, and it's all to do with what songs and what tempos and whatever as well, the flow. That's another job, not just learning the songs. It's the actual producing the show to the point where, it flows and you get better. But, so that's all that is. As I say, there are other elements involved. We had the best sound company. I mean, we had the best equipment, like the most modern equipment, laser lights. Nobody's ever done that stuff, you see. Once you've got all this new stuff that you're going with, you're just as much a part of that production on that side too. You know, it's like, you know that audience seeing something for the first time, and you get a buzz from it. You know, so it's all that. It's not just, you know, but the musicianship has to be great to start with, obviously. It has to be. I mean, you know, even if you're not like, you know, the best guitar player in the world, when you're rehearsed and you know what you're doing, you're going to sound like it. But I'm not saying anybody in that band wasn't up to the stand. I'm just saying in general, you get a lot of bands who aren't that great, you know, individually, but as a band, because they've stuck through it, and, you know, and they eventually get successful because they've got that unity thing, and uniqueness. You know, everybody's different, right? So I think that band was a great unit for that style of, you know, tour. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, one last question, because we're 20 minutes, and thank you so much. Right. I do appreciate it.
No, I didn't want to ramble on. I didn't. No, you ain't going to be able to remember all this.
So, you know, one of the stories I read about with your departure from Wings had to do with the death of John Lennon, the murder of John Lennon. And I mean, what was the impact on you and Paul, and maybe your relationship with the murder of John Lennon? Is it true that was sort of the impetus of either Wings splitting or you leaving, or is there a different story?
No, not at all. The reason I left mainly was because of the Japanese not being able to go out and do another tour, and going in the studio. We went in and did 2 more albums after that, don't forget. I mean, we did the thing with Stevie Wonder and Carl Perkins, Ringo. We had a lot of associations with other people, guests and stuff. So we still recorded, but I was frustrated because, you know, I was expecting to do Japan, never done Japan before. I wanted to go around the world again with this new lineup, so I was a little bit frustrated with that. But it was nothing to do with Lennon dying, not really, because, like I said, you know, I mean, I knew John really well too. You know, I was at his house, it was at our house a lot of times just to go out and see things with him. But, you know, when he did die, then obviously, well, I mean, me and Paul went into the studio just to have somewhere neutral to be, you know, get him out of the house and all that kind of thing. But, yeah, security definitely became a big deal, but every time we're out, we have security anyway, when we're working, that is. Unfortunately for John, he didn't have his security with him, you know, enough, you see what I mean? But obviously Paul had to up his security, his private security situation, and that was obviously a worry. But, you know, you always get people like, you know, worry that people that just, you don't know what they're going to do, you know. There's a few out there, and you recognize it. You just become more sort of aware of it. But it wasn't because of that he didn't want to, that I left, or that he didn't want to tour. It was purely because of the Japan thing. So that was that. But, you know, it was the last album that we did that starting to get very popular with people when they're looking back at it. And so it's a shame that band didn't have a chance to go out and just follow on from the 76 tour.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he put some good bands together after that, and he's been playing with some good musicians. Yeah. But I still say that 76 band was, from a live perspective, the best thing that he ever did on stage by far.
Right. Well, yeah, but again, stadiums. And for the first time, really. You got to remember, the Beatles never did stadiums. Did one, I think, or two. I mean, and the Moody's never did them when I was in them. So we were playing to that kind of an audience, and that was our energy level. Well, after that, he was doing stadiums, obviously, but it wasn't like as a band. It was more him as a solo artist with a backing band. That's the way I saw it. Yeah. Whereas, like with us, because we'd built up to it, it was more of a band situation, you know. And we'd been doing it longer. It took anyway. I won't go into all the other guys, but I think he had some great lineups too. I just don't think he was with them long enough in some ways, especially the Hamish setup, because that was a great lineup. But that's all did it. So, you know, bands just get better the longer they stay together, and when they have equal say in things too. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
I mean, me and Paul were a lot more, as I say, on the same level as friends than maybe all the other people he worked with. And that took a few years to get to that point. So we had a lot more input, between each other, bouncing backwards and forwards. That's why we wrote together,
Awesome.
I mean, he doesn't write with his other bands, does he?
No, well, I mean, he wrote with Elvis Costello. That was about the, that's the only one I remember.
In the band.
Yeah.
But he wasn't in the band.
Yeah, that's about it. So,
all right.
But I agree with you on that Hamish lineup. That was they played Hamish and Robbie McIntosh, I think, was the other guy. So that was a great lineup.
That was my favorite lineup. Sorry, I got to say that.
Yeah.
Even though I liked the new guys, I met them.
Yeah.
They're all nice people and they're good players, but it's not the same atmosphere.
Right.
So that's all.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, Denny, thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you when you hit here in lovely Buffalo, New York. Hopefully the weather is a little bit better than, I don't know. It'll probably be in the 20s or 30s, but I'm sure you're used to it by now.
I know that. I know it well up there.
Hopefully you get a chance to eat some wings or at least enjoy Buffalo a little bit for what it's
I like
for.
Buffalo. It's great. I won't actually because I'm going to the next gig straight after the gig, but on the road that night. But I love it up there. But there you go. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Denny. Have a great one.
All right, man.
All
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, well, that was my interview with Denny Laine. Sorry about the hiccup in the start, but, I hadn't listened to that in a while, but there was some great stuff, him talking about his time with Wings and being in the studio with Paul McCartney after the death of John Lennon. And as you can hear, Denny's a pretty easy guy to talk with, very laid back, and, I always think back, like, pun-wise. He's coming to Buffalo, and I mentioned Wings, and I mean at the time I didn't really mean it as a pun, but it kind of came out as funny. I thought he was maybe going to pick up on that. But anyhow, hope you enjoyed this podcast. This is Thom Jennings. I'll keep cranking these out as long as you keep listening. So please consider subscribing. Consider, sharing with your friends, listening, and all that kind of good stuff so we can grow this podcast and I can maybe afford a studio that I can keep my dogs out of. All right? So thanks so much. Until next time, this is Thom Jennings saying thank you so very much for being my loyal listener or just a one-time listener or whatever. And we hope to see you out there someday at a concert.